My father's funeral smelled like roses and lies. People came in white clothes and black hearts, pretending to mourn a man they'd already started dividing like property in their heads. My stepmother, Nadia, stood in the front row, face hidden behind a perfectly folded dupatta, crying without a single tear. I stood a few steps back, fingers numb around the tasbih beads my father used to carry. Every time one slipped through my fingers, I heard his voice. Aisha Beta, whatever happens after I'm gone, remember, you are my first responsibility. I believed him, until I heard otherwise. The house was full that night, uncles, aunts, distant cousins, suddenly very close, talking in low voices with Nadia in corners they thought I couldn't see. My stepbrother, Rayan, moved through the crowd like a prince at a coronation, shaking hands, accepting condolences that sounded suspiciously like congratulations. I slipped upstairs to Baba's study. The room was too quiet. His chair still leaned back at the same angle. His glasses were still on the desk beside an unfinished crossword. His coat hung on the back of the door, faintly smelling of his cologne. And yet, somehow, it already felt like a museum. A place built to remember a man they were already trying to erase. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe a letter, maybe a sign. Maybe proof that his words to me weren't just nice things fathers say, but I found something else. I heard voices outside the study door. Are you sure she doesn't get anything? A male voice asked. My uncle Tarek. She'll get enough to live decently, Nadia replied, her tone sharp as a knife wrapped in silk. Education, some savings, the rest will go to Rayan. That's what your brother wanted. My heart stuttered. No, that's impossible. What about the house? Another uncle asked. The restaurants, the land in Baria? All of it is in Rayan's name, Nadia said. Legally, properly, don't worry, I've handled everything. Aisha, she's not built for this kind of responsibility. She'd just waste it. They moved away from the door, voices fading down the hallway, but my blood was roaring too loudly to hear anything else. House in Rayan's name. Restaurants in Rayan's name, all of it? I stood there, frozen in the dim light of Baba's study, staring at the framed family photo on his desk. His arm around my shoulders. Nadia and Rayan standing on the other side, slightly apart. You promised, I whispered to the glass. You promised you'd look after me, not after them. My phone buzzed in my hand, a message from an unknown number. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. lawyer's office. Will reading, don't be late. N for Nadia. So it was official. They were going to read a document that decided how much of my father I got to keep. Grief shifted inside me. It twisted, hardened, took a new shape. Suspicion. Because my father was many things, stubborn, strict, old-fashioned, but he was not careless. He loved Rayan, sure, but he also loved me. I wasn't an accident, I wasn't an afterthought. If he really changed his will, why didn't he tell me? I picked up his diary. The leather one he always kept locked in his desk drawer. The one I'd only seen in his hands when bills were due and decisions were made. The drawer was open. The key was still in the lock. I flipped it open, heart pounding. The last entry was 2 months before his death. His handwriting, neat and firm. Met with Advocate Salman today. Updated documents regarding property. Must ensure both children are protected. Aisha will be fine. She's stronger than she thinks. Both children, my eyes burned. If the will said everything to Rayan, then either my father had lied on paper or someone had rewritten his last words. By the time I closed the diary, my grief had already begun to mutate into something colder, sharper, and far more dangerous than tears. Revenge doesn't start with shouting. It starts with a doubt that refuses to die. The law firm didn't match the storm inside me. The waiting room was all glass, chrome, and soft background music. A receptionist with perfect eyeliner smiled politely as if no one's life was about to be ripped apart inside those walls. Rayan arrived 5 minutes late, sunglasses on indoors, smelling like expensive perfume and carelessness. Nadia floated behind him, dressed head to toe in soft beige, the color of innocent widow in every Desi drama ever made. You came, she said, like she was surprised. Of course, I replied. Baba asked me to take care of his responsibilities. To my satisfaction, the line made something flicker in her eyes. We were shown into a conference room. A long table, leather chairs, a city view that didn't care who lived and who died. Advocate Salman entered with a folder under his arm. He was older than I expected, with kind eyes hidden behind metal frame glasses. I recognized him immediately from Baba's diary entry. Aisha, he said softly, nodding to me first. I'm very sorry for your loss. His eyes lingered on me for a second too long, as if he wanted to say more. Then he straightened, cleared his throat, and opened the folder. Legally, a will reading is dry, precise. No background music, no dramatic pauses, just clauses, subclauses, and signatures. Emotionally, it feels like being dissected alive. As per the last testament of the deceased, Mr. Farid Hussein, he began, the following distributions are to be made. I clasped my hands tightly in my lap. The small stuff came first. Donations to charity, money for the staff, settling of debts. It sounded like Baba, careful, thorough, responsible. Then came the big part. The primary residential property located at our house is to be transferred to Mr. Rayan Farid. My stomach lurched. The chain of restaurants registered under Farid Foods Pvt. Limited are to be wholly transferred to Mr. Rayan Farid. My ears began to ring. The plot and constructed property in Baria, also Rayan. It kept going. Properties, accounts, investments. Nadia got a sizable amount in cash and jewelry, plus a stake in one of the businesses. My name floated somewhere in the middle, attached to a single fixed deposit, the amount generous by normal standards, humiliating by ours. And that was it. No conditions, no both children. No balance, just crumbs. When Salman closed the file, my world narrowed to the sound of paper meeting wood. I'd like to see the original documents, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Nadia's head snapped toward me. That's not necessary. Your father trusted? It's standard procedure, Salman cut in smoothly. If Miss Aisha wishes to inspect the will, she has every right. For the first time that morning, I saw it. A flicker. Her confidence cracked, just for a second. He slid the file toward me. I scanned the pages, pretending to read calmly, but my eyes were searching for something else. Dates, signatures, handwriting. The will was dated 3 weeks before Baba's heart attack. The signature looked like his, but just slightly too clean, too careful, as if someone had practiced it. And this was the last version? I asked. There were no previous drafts? Of course there were, Nadia snapped. Your father updated his will many times, but this is the latest, the only one that matters. Salman's jaw clenched. It was quick, but I saw it. Miss Aisha, he said, if you have concerns, you are free to seek an independent legal opinion. But from my side, the document is valid. Valid. Such a neat word for something that felt so wrong. I watched him closely. His words said one thing, his eyes said another. He wasn't lying exactly. He was trapped. When the formalities were over, Nadia stood up with a sympathetic sigh. Aisha, Beta, I know this is hard to accept. But your father did what he thought was best. Rayan will handle the businesses. You can live comfortably. You don't need this stress. She placed a hand on my shoulder. I let her, because now I understood something important. She thought the game was over. She thought I was defeated. Let her think that. Thank you, I said quietly, looking down so she couldn't see the fire in my eyes. If that's what Baba wanted, I'll accept it. Salman walked us to the door. As Nadia and Rayan moved ahead, he fell back a step, closer to me. Very softly, barely moving his lips, he whispered, "This is not the will your father signed in my office." I stopped breathing. Before I could react, he stepped away, face neutral again. Once again, he said out loud, "My condolences." The door closed behind us with a soft click. By the time we reached the elevator, my grief had fully transformed. I wasn't just doubting anymore. I knew. Someone had rewritten my father's final decision, and I was going to find out exactly how. You don't challenge people like my stepmother head-on. Women like Nadia live on performance. If you accuse them in public, they'll cry, faint, and twist the narrative until you look like the greedy, ungrateful one. So I smiled. I played the obedient daughter. I accepted people's pity. I let relatives pat my hand and say things like, "Your father knew best, and you're a girl, Beta, you'll be safer this way." Let them think I was harmless. Meanwhile, I went hunting. First stop, Advocate Salman. I waited 2 days before visiting his office again, enough time for it not to look desperate, not enough time for evidence to vanish if there was any left. This time, I didn't sit in the waiting room. I walked straight to the reception desk. "I need to see Advocate Salman," I said. "It's about my father's case. Urgent." The receptionist hesitated. "He has appointments?" Tell him his client's daughter wants to talk about the will he didn't recognize. That did the trick. Minutes later, I was in his office. It was smaller than the glossy conference room, cluttered with files and books, the air smelling faintly of old paper and strong tea. You shouldn't have come here, he said before I even sat down. You shouldn't have told me that wasn't my father's will, I shot back. But here we are. He sighed, rubbed his temples, and closed the door. Sit, Aisha, I sat, heart hammering. Why did you say that? I asked. What did you mean this isn't the will he signed? He watched me for a long moment, like he was deciding which version of the truth I could handle. Your father came to see me 3 months ago, he said slowly. He was worried. He said there was tension in the house, pressure from certain people. His mouth tightened on the word. He wanted to make sure both you and Rayan were secure. 50-50 on the major assets. The house, the businesses, the property, equal. Equal. It felt like a hand squeezing my heart. That's the will we drafted, he continued. That's the will he signed, in this room, with witnesses. Then what happened? A week after his death, Salman said, your stepmother came to me with a new document. She said your father had changed his mind and signed a revised will at home 5 days before he died. She brought it in for formal filing. Did you see him sign it? I asked. No, he admitted. Legally, I wasn't required to. She brought original, signed, witnessed papers. Everything was in order on paper. But you knew, I pressed, or at least suspected. I knew it didn't match the man I knew for 20 years, he said quietly. But suspicion isn't evidence, Aisha. If I accused her and she had proof, I could lose my license. And all she needed was one sentence. He told me his daughter is irresponsible. People would believe her. The law favors what can be shown, not what we feel. So you just let it go? His jaw clenched. I'm not proud of it. I leaned forward. Is there anything left? Anything from the original will? He hesitated. Then he opened his drawer, pulled out a small black USB, and placed it on the desk between us like it was radioactive. I shouldn't have this, he said. Every document should already be in the official file, but I always keep a backup copy of drafts until a client's case is fully closed. My fingers curled around the USB. It felt stupidly light for something that could burn lives down. Is the original will on this? I whispered. The draft, he said. The one we typed together, not signed, but it has your father's instructions, his wording, his revisions and track changes. If someone forged his signature later, they copied from somewhere. This proves what his intention was before that mysterious last-minute change. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was the first crack. Why are you helping me? I asked. He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw guilt, fear, and something like regret. Because I failed your father once, he said. I won't fail his daughter. I slipped the USB into my bag, mind racing. If Nadia had switched the will, she'd done it confidently. That meant she had access to Baba's papers. She had someone who knew how to make legal documents look real. She trusted that I wouldn't question anything. She miscalculated. Can I ask you one more thing? I said, standing up. The witnesses on the new will, who were they? He pulled out the file, flipped to the last page. My blood ran cold. 2 names, both familiar. One was a family friend. The other was someone I'd never expected to see on a legal document connected to my life. My cousin Samir, the same cousin who used to help me with math homework, the same cousin who once told me, if anyone hurts you, I'll bury them. Apparently, he'd changed teams. Thank you, I said to Salman. You've done enough. I'll handle it from here. As I stepped out into the harsh afternoon light, the world looked different. Clearer, smaller, like a chessboard. And for the first time since my father died, I knew what piece I was going to move first. Not Nadia. Not Rayan. Samir, you don't attack the queen on move 1. You start with the traitor who opened the door. Families don't expect betrayal from outside. They expect it from blood. That's why it hurts so much more. Samir worked at a mid-sized accounting firm in the city. Not glamorous, but stable. Good enough for someone who liked numbers more than people. He was the quiet one at family gatherings, the guy who sat in a corner with tea, nodding along to adult conversations he wasn't fully part of. I used to trust him the most, which is exactly why Nadia chose him. I didn't call ahead. Traitors lie better when they've had time to rehearse. I waited outside his office building and caught him at lunch just as he stepped out with his colleagues. He froze when he saw me, styrofoam burger box in hand, his eyes flicking automatically to my black clothes. Aisha, he said, I'm so sorry about Uncle. I wanted to come. We need to talk, I said. Privately, his colleagues exchanged looks. One of them smirked, already building a story in his head. Samir cleared his throat. Let's go to the car park. We ended up in a shadowed corner, the echo of traffic rumbling in the distance. You signed as a witness on the new will, I said without preamble. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Who told you that? He whispered. Your signature, I said. On legal paper, under my father's name. You remember my father, right? The one who paid for your university when your own dad couldn't? Color drained from his face. It's not what you think, he said quickly. I just your aunt, she said. My step-aunt, I corrected, voice cold. Try again. He ran a hand through his hair, breathing hard. She called me, he said, just before Uncle's heart attack. Said he'd signed a new will at home in a hurry, that he was too sick to go to the lawyer. She needed witnesses from the family. She said you already knew. You believed her, I asked. Without asking me, without calling Baba's lawyer? She said you'd been there when he signed, he insisted weakly. She said the lawyer would handle the rest. I thought I was helping. You know how it is, elders ask you for something, you don't say no. You said no plenty of times when I needed help moving to my hostel, I snapped. But for her, suddenly you're available, he swallowed. I didn't know she'd changed anything, he whispered. I didn't read the damn thing, Aisha. It was like 20 pages. She just pointed where to sign. I swear, I thought Uncle wanted Rayan to handle the business side and you to just not worry about stress. There it was, the comfortable lie. Women shouldn't deal with stress. They should be protected, provided for, kept quiet with the right amount of money and no power. Samir, I said slowly, do you still have anything from that day? Messages, call logs, any record of what she said when she said it? He hesitated just a second too long. I deleted the WhatsApp chat, he said. Didn't seem important. Of course, I said softly, betrayals rarely seem important to the people doing them. He flinched again. But call logs, I continued. You can't delete call logs from your service provider. If someone, say, legally requested the record, it would show exactly when she called you. And if that time doesn't match what she told the court, that would be a problem. For her, and for you, his eyes widened. You wouldn't. You signed a forged will, Samir, I said. That makes you part of the fraud, whether you knew or not. Courts love people like you, they crack fast. He grabbed my wrist. What do you want? Finally, a useful question. I want you to help me prove that will is fake, I said. I want everything you remember, exact time, date, words she used. If she mentioned the lawyer, if she said my name, every detail. And I want you to shut up about this conversation to everyone, especially her. He looked torn, trapped between fear and guilt. She'll know something's wrong, he whispered. She always does. Good, I said. Let her feel something for once. He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You've changed, he said. Grief does that, I replied. Betrayal finishes the job. We spent the next 30 minutes going through everything. He tried to act like he didn't remember much, but when I pressed, details started spilling out. The call came late at night, 3 days before Baba's heart attack, not 5. She sounded urgent and angry, complaining that my father was too soft on me. She rushed him and the other witness, a family friend, through the signing, saying, just sign, it's a formality. I recorded everything on my phone. Quietly, discreetly, when we were done, I stepped back. One more thing, I said. If she asks, you signed whatever she put in front of you because you trusted her. You never talked to me, you never went to the lawyer, you never questioned anything. Understood, he frowned, but isn't that bad for you? I don't need you to be my hero, Samir, I said. I just need you to be exactly what you already are. Which is? A coward, I said, turning away. Cowards leave the best paper trail. As I walked out of the car park, my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. You went to Salman, that was a mistake. No name, but I didn't need one. Only one person in this story hated losing control enough to start watching me this closely. Nadia had noticed my first move. Good, because I was just getting started. The message stayed on my screen for a full minute. You went to Salman, that was a mistake. She didn't threaten, she didn't accuse, she didn't ask questions. She informed. That's how people talk when they believe the fight is already won. I didn't respond. I didn't panic. I didn't even look around to see who might be watching. That would have given her satisfaction. Instead, I slid the phone into my bag and walked straight out of the parking lot into the bright sunlight as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Until that moment, I only suspected she was capable of forgery. Now I knew she was capable of surveillance. It meant she had eyes everywhere, relatives, employees, maybe even someone at the law firm. It meant she understood the stakes. It meant she was afraid. Good, fear sharpens truth. By the time I reached home, a plan was forming in my mind, not delicate, not hopeful, but cold and sharp like a needle-piercing skin. I had to get into Baba's study, not the public room upstairs. The real study. The one behind the locked wooden door on the ground floor. The room where he kept the documents no one else was allowed to touch. That room had been sealed since his death. Nadia said it was too painful to open. That alone should have been a clue. She didn't believe in pain unless it belonged to someone else. When I reached the house, Rayan's car was gone. Nadia's shoes, expensive Italian ones, sat neatly on the rack. She was home. Perfect. I walked in as if nothing had happened. "Salam," I said politely. She emerged from the living room, a cup of green tea in hand, her expression soft, motherly, and entirely fake. "Aisha, Beta, I was just thinking about you," she said sweetly. "You rushed out so quickly from the law office. I hope you're not upset." It was the kind of question designed to trap. If I said yes, she'd act offended. If I said no, I'd look weak, so I gave her the one answer she didn't expect. "I'm tired," I said. "Baba used to handle everything. I'm not ready to deal with legal documents. I trust you." She blinked, just once. A flicker of triumph lit her eyes, exactly what I wanted. "Yes, of course," she said. "That's the right attitude. I'm glad you understand." I forced a small smile. "I just need to rest a bit. I'll be in my room." I turned slowly, climbed the stairs calmly, and entered my room with gentle footsteps. And then I locked the door and acted. I didn't waste time. I changed quickly into soft shoes, pulled my hair back, grabbed my old set of spare keys and the small flashlight Baba had given me during one of our power outage nights. I opened my window. I waited. Footsteps downstairs. The sound of a TV turning on. Laughter from some drama she pretended made her cry. Perfect. I slipped out the window, climbed down the side of the house using the old vines Baba had meant to cut last spring, and landed silently on the stone path. Baba's private study had one weakness, a forgotten ventilation window near the back wall, behind the generator shed. I'd squeezed through it often as a child. I wasn't sure I still fit, but grief makes you smaller. Revenge makes you sharper. I pushed the metal frame. It groaned softly but opened. I slid in, scraping my arm on the way down, landing on the soft carpet with a quiet thump. The air inside smelled like old paper, ink, and my father. For a moment, my throat closed. Then I forced myself to move. Every drawer was locked. But Baba had taught me something important. Everyone hides things where they think no one will look. I checked behind books, under the large Persian rug, inside the hollowed-out globe he kept cigars in. Nothing. My frustration grew. Then I saw it, a frame on the wall slightly tilted. I lifted it. Behind it was a small safe. I entered the code I used when I was 16 to steal chocolates, 1123, my birthday. The safe opened. Inside were a stack of letters, a sealed envelope with my name, and a brown folder labeled Property Original Documents. My heartbeat went wild. I opened the folder. There were title deed copies, old agreements, handwritten notes, but most importantly, the original draft of the equal distribution will. Not the signed version, but proof, real proof, dates, Baba's handwriting, his instructions. I took photos of everything. Then I opened the envelope with my name. Inside was a single page in his handwriting. "Aisha, if you are reading this, then something has gone wrong. Do not trust anyone blindly, especially not the ones who smile too much. Everything I built is yours and Rayan's, equally. Do not let anyone make you smaller than you are." My hands trembled. He knew something was wrong even before he died. A floorboard creaked outside the door. I froze. Nadia's voice, soft and deadly. "Aisha, I know you're in there." My breath jammed in my throat. How long had she known? Had she followed me? Had she heard something? Had she planted a camera? No, the study was too sacred to Baba. Even she wasn't reckless enough to tamper with this room while he was alive. But I'd forgotten one thing. She didn't need cameras, she had instincts. Aisha, she said again, her hand trying the doorknob, come out, you're scaring me. Scaring her? If irony had a face, it would be hers. I grabbed the photos, the letter, and shoved everything into my bag. I closed the safe quietly, ignoring how my hands shook, pushed the frame back into place, and took one deep breath. I unlocked the door. She stood outside, her expression a perfect mixture of worry and accusation. A performance so polished it could win awards. Aisha, she exhaled, why are you down here? This room is off limits. It's too full of memories, too painful. Exactly, I said, my voice shaky, not from fear, but from truth. I needed to feel closer to him. Her gaze searched my face, trying to find cracks. You could have told me. You're not a child. Isn't that exactly what you want me to be? I asked quietly. Small, dependent, quiet. Her expression hardened by a fraction, a microsecond slip, then softened back. Beta, she said, stepping closer, I know you're upset about the will. Losing your father like this, you're not thinking clearly. No, I said, I'm thinking very clearly. Her eyes narrowed. For your sake, she said softly but sharply, stop digging into things you don't understand. There are legal procedures in place. There are consequences for interfering with official documents. Ah, there it was. The threat wrapped in motherly concern. I lowered my gaze to hide my smile. I'm sorry, I whispered. It won't happen again. She believed me. She stepped aside, letting me pass, but I could feel her eyes burning into my back as I walked upstairs. Not suspicion anymore. Fear. People only fear what they don't control. Inside my room, I locked the door and finally let my heart race freely. I sat on the floor, emptied the bag, and spread the photos and documents around me. Pieces of a puzzle. Baba's handwritten equal distribution draft, Salman's USB with the original instructions, Samir's recorded confession, the suspicious timeline, inconsistencies the letter Baba wrote warning me, and now, Nadia telling me this wasn't just greed. This was planning, prevention, control, and most terrifying preparation. I replayed Samir's words. She called me 3 days before the heart attack, not 5 like the forged will stated. Meaning. She lied about the timeline, she coordinated witnesses before Baba died, she knew exactly when to switch wills, which meant his death was not as sudden as she claimed. A cold shiver ran through me. I didn't want to believe it. But suspicion had turned into discovery. Now discovery was turning into horror. I opened my laptop and inserted Salman's USB. The files loaded, Word documents, revision notes, drafts, and one more, a hidden folder. Password protected. I tried every combination I could think of. Baba's birthday, mine, Rayan's, nothing. Then I noticed something odd, the folder name. FH Private Notes. FH Farid Hussein. But also a phrase he always said to me when I was scared as a child. Fear hides nothing. I typed it in. The folder opened. Inside were scanned copies of medical reports, my father's. Heart irregularities noted weeks before his death. Restricted movement recommendations. A warning note from the doctor, avoid stress. Any sudden shock could be dangerous. I felt the room tilt. Nadia had pressured him into signing a will during this time. She had brought witnesses. She had kept him away from Salman. She had ensured he didn't go to the office. She had complete access. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't inheritance manipulation. This was something far darker. Someone tapped my window. I jumped. A shadow outside. A human shape. I scrambled back, heart pounding. A voice whispered, urgent and trembling, Keisha, it's me, it's Rayan. Let me in, I know what she did. Rayan, the last person I expected to see outside my window at midnight, was the brother who inherited everything I lost. The brother who walked like he owned the world. The brother who looked at me with polite pity instead of real concern. I opened the window cautiously. He climbed in silently, no smugness in his expression, only fear. Real fear. The kind that strips a man down to his truth. What are you doing here? I whispered. He didn't answer immediately. He paced the room, hair disheveled, breathing uneven, fingers trembling. Keisha, how much do you know? He asked finally. Enough to know the will is fake, I said. Enough to know someone pressured Baba. Enough to know, I hesitated. Enough to know his death may not have been natural. Rayan ran both hands over his face, whispering, Oh God. Sit, I said firmly. He sat. For a moment, he looked like a little boy again. The one who used to steal mangoes from the garden and blame me. The one Baba scolded, then secretly handed sweets. What happened, Rayan? I asked softly. Tell me. He swallowed hard. She made me lie, he said. Not just to you, to everyone. I pressed. He closed his eyes. Nadia, what did she make you do? He shook his head violently. Not make, manipulate, threaten, trick, I don't know. It all happened so fast. His hands shook so badly I handed him a glass of water. After a long breath, he began. The night Baba got sick, Nadia was furious at him. I don't know why, I heard them arguing. She said he was being ungrateful and naive. Then she stormed out. He paused, voice breaking. A few minutes later, Baba collapsed. Collapsed. My heart felt like it was being squeezed. She called the ambulance, Rayan continued. But she waited. What do you mean waited? I mean she waited, he whispered. He collapsed at 9:42. She called at 10:03. I saw the call log on her phone. When I asked why she didn't call immediately, she slapped me. His voice shook. She told me if I ever questioned her again, she'd throw me out of the family business. She said Baba had already made everything mine, and if I was smart, I'd stay quiet. I felt sick. She controlled everything after that, he said. She told the doctors he'd been fine earlier. She told the relatives she was with him the whole time. She told me to keep my mouth shut. Why didn't you tell the police? I asked. My voice wasn't angry, it was too numb for that. He let out a humorless laugh. She said she'd make it look like I delayed the ambulance, that I caused Baba's death. She said she had influence, money, lawyers, that no one would believe a confused son over a grieving widow. He looked at me with eyes full of guilt. And I believed her. I didn't say anything, I just waited. I didn't know she forged the will, he whispered. I swear, she told me everything was legitimate. She told me Baba wanted me to take care of the family. She told me you didn't want responsibility. I stared at him. Why are you telling me this now? He leaned forward, gripping my hands. Because she's planning something worse, he said. She knows you're digging. She said she can't take another risk. She's watching you, she's watching me, she's not stable anymore. A cold chill slid across my spine. What is she planning, Rayan? He hesitated too long. Tell me, I demanded. She wants to send you away, he said quietly. Somewhere safe. A mental health facility, a private one. She already talked to a doctor. She said you're hallucinating your father's words. She said if you weren't grieving properly, drastic steps were needed. I stared at him. He stared at the floor. The room seemed to shrink. She wanted to declare me mentally unstable, remove me legally, erase me cleanly. It was the perfect trap, one she'd used on someone else before. Does she know you're here? I asked. No, he said. If she knew, I'd already be dead. His voice cracked. I'm sorry, Aisha. I'm so sorry for everything. For the first time since Baba died, I believed him. And for the first time in my life, he was looking to me for protection. We don't have much time, I whispered. We have to strike before she does. He looked terrified. Strike how? I closed the laptop and slid the USB into my pocket. By doing the one thing she never expected, I said. Telling the truth. The next evening, Nadia announced she wanted a family dinner. She said it softly, like a mother trying to heal a wound. I knew better. It was her final move. She thought I would come helpless, emotional, unarmed. She didn't know I had. The original draft, Will Baba's warning letter, Salman's testimony, Samir's, recorded confession Rayan's witness, account medical records, proving Baba was vulnerable call logs, showing timeline manipulation. I wasn't coming to dinner. I was walking into the battlefield. The dining table was set too perfectly, golden plates, lit candles, a meal Baba used to love, as if she were resurrecting him for her performance. She sat at the head of the table. Rayan and I sat opposite each other. You both must be wondering why I called you here, she began, voice gentle, smooth, dangerous. No one answered. She folded her hands. We've all been grieving. Raw emotions can lead to misunderstandings. I want us to move forward peacefully. Peace, I said, is built on truth. She didn't blink. Exactly. So let's begin, I said, placing a small black device on the table. Her eyes flicked to it, a voice recorder. Rayan's grip tightened on his fork. Geisha, she said slowly, what are you doing? Opening the truth, I said, one lie at a time. I pressed play. Samir's voice filled the room. She called me 3 days before the attack. She rushed us. She said just sign. Her face tightened. Then Rayan spoke. She waited 20 minutes before calling the ambulance. She told me to stay quiet. She threatened to blame me. Nadia's jaw clenched. I slid printed medical reports toward her. Your husband's doctor warned against stress, I said. You pressured him anyway. You controlled his movements. You isolated him. I slid the photos next. This is the original will draft, equal distribution, his real intention. I placed the letter last. My father warned me not to trust you. Her hands trembled. It lasted half a second, but I saw it. You've misunderstood, she began. No, I cut in calmly. You misunderstood. I leaned forward, my voice cold. You thought money was the fight, but the real fight is legacy. Name, truth. And I will burn your lies down to protect his. She rose from her seat so quickly her chair nearly fell. You stupid girl, she snapped. You think anyone will believe you? I am his widow. Everything is legally mine to manage. You forged a legal document, I said. You delayed medical help to a heart patient. You manipulated witnesses. You planned to institutionalize me, and you left a trail. Her breathing turned sharp. Aisha, she whispered, almost begging, stop this. You don't know what you're risking. Everything, I said, and I'm willing to risk it. Are you? For the first time, she broke. She lunged for the recorder, but Rayan slammed his hand on it first. Don't, he said. His voice was quiet but firm. We're done protecting you. Her face went white. You too, she whispered. After everything I did for you, he shook his head. You didn't do anything for me, he said. You did everything to us. She looked at both of us. Then she laughed, not sweetly, not kindly, but in a way that told me we had just cornered something wild. You think you've won, she said. You think this is over. Her smile was sharp. You have no idea what war looks like. She left the table. But I wasn't afraid. Because war is only won by those who prepare longest. And she had no idea how prepared I was. The next morning began with chaos. Not mine, hers. At 7:13 a.m., police cars pulled up outside the house. Detectives, legal officers, representatives from the Property Registration Bureau. She came running downstairs in a silk robe, hair disheveled, shouting, "What is the meaning of this?" A senior officer stepped forward. Mrs. Nadia Farid, he said, you are under investigation for tampering with legal documents, witness coercion, medical neglect, and property fraud. Her face crumpled. This is absurd. Who filed this complaint? I did, I said, stepping into the hallway. Her eyes widened. You traitor, she whispered. No, I said. You betrayed him. I'm just restoring what he built. They began searching the house. They found 2 phones with deleted messages, multiple drafts of the fake will her forged handwriting practice, sheets a shredded document bag, containing Baba's real file copy a voice memo, where she rehearsed lying to the lawyer, but the final nail was the call log. The one showing she waited 21 minutes before calling for help. The officer read it aloud. Her knees buckled. No, he was alive. I didn't kill him. I stepped closer. But you didn't save him. She stared at me with a mixture of hatred and terror. You don't deserve anything, she hissed. You're weak, stupid, emotional. That's why your father kept everything from you. My father kept nothing from me, I said. You stole it. She lunged at me, wild, desperate, but 2 officers grabbed her arms and dragged her back. You will regret this, she shrieked as they pulled her out. Both of you, you think the truth protects you. The world is not fair? No, I said softly, watching her disappear through the door, but justice still exists for those who fight for it. The house fell silent. Rayan leaned against the staircase, covering his face. Is it really over? He asked. No, I said. It's just beginning. We still need to restore Baba's will, clean his name, rebuild everything she broke. And us? He whispered. I looked at him, at the brother who finally stood beside me. We rebuild too, I said. As equals, the way he wanted. Epilogue, 1 year later the house was ours again. The businesses were running smoothly, under both our names. The original will had been legally restored. Nadia was facing charges that would take years to untangle. But the real victory wasn't court papers. It was peace. On Baba's death anniversary, I placed fresh flowers on his grave and whispered, I kept your promise, Baba. I didn't let anyone make me smaller. The wind blew softly, like an answer, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free.